Marie. And wow, look at this beautiful crowd. You know, there was a time when if you asked me to come stand up here and speak in front of a crowd like this, I would have said, you are out of your goddamn mind, sister. Right? Because this is where I reside. Who are my peeps in the room who spend way too much time in this zone? Let me see your hands. I know I'm not the only one. No. Right? But here's the real danger. You know what the real danger about being in the zone is? Not only does it prevent us from stepping into our greatness and owning our value, it also stops us from asking, reaching out and asking, being vulnerable and asking for the help that we need to propel us to our next level of success, joy, or happiness, right? But to me, the worst part of it all is that it divides us and sucks the compassion out of our hearts. Because when we see another man or woman crushing it out there in the world, instead of cheering for them, instead of being happy for them, and being inspired by them, wanting to learn from them, we're too busy judging them, right? Criticizing them, competing with them, and tearing them down just so we can feel a little bit better about where we are right now, right? Or when we look at someone who is a few steps behind us and is struggling to find their way, we turn the other cheek because we're thinking, well, I had to crawl my way to get to where I am today, so maybe that should also be their rite of passage to success and happiness too, right? And worse off, I think, to me, is that we're quick to judge and condemn them for falling short of our own expectations, right? So yesterday morning, I took an Uber ride to the airport. And when the driver arrived, he didn't even bother to step outside and help me with my luggage. And so my husband stepped in and helped me with it. But when we opened the trunk, it was like a junkyard. There was no room at all for me to put my luggage in. And so I said, okay, that's fine, honey. Why don't you just put it next to me in the back seat, and I'll be fine. But when we opened the back seat, there was a car seat in there. So we're like, okay, fine, we'll just squeeze it into the front seat. And meanwhile, the Uber driver didn't even budge, okay? But the worst part of it all was every square inch of his car was absolutely disgusting. You can see these stain marks here. Like here, I don't even know, that's like diaper explosion, I don't know, right? And so, I mean, it was a gross fest. Like, I'm pretty sure that I probably had snot stain all over the outfit I was wearing in the car ride yesterday. And so my husband whispered to me, sorry, honey, as he said goodbye, and then he closed the door, and he gave me this look of, better you than me. And then he went back inside the house. So I'm curious, what would you have done in that situation? How would you handle that? I'm curious.
I wouldn't have got in
have got in there?
You had enough time, maybe let him go and then get another Uber.
Yeah.
You had enough time.
Yeah. Unfortunately, in my case, I didn't have it. I had a flight to catch. It was poor planning on my part. It was cutting it close.
A low rating.
Right? Yeah.
A low rating.
Low rating? Yeah. I want to hear from the men and the kings in the house here. But what would you have done?
Come on, King.
Come on, kings. But what would you have done?
I would have asked him that.
You would have what?
I would have asked him to help me put that. If you
Yeah.
by yourself, I would have asked him.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, my knee-jerk gut reaction was a combination of all of that. But mostly it was, oh my God, this is disgusting, right? And he's definitely not getting a tip. And I probably should be reporting him to somewhere somehow, right? So that was my knee-jerk reaction. But then I sat back, I took a deep breath, and then I glanced over at that filthy car seat that was inches away from me. And then I remembered what it was like being a young parent, trying to figure my way and trying to find a way to support my family. And so I started talking to the driver to get to know him better and his situation. He's 28 years old, a young black father of 3 very young children named Joshua, who drives fleet trucks all across Florida and Georgia 2 or so weeks out of the month. And when he's not doing that, he's riding Uber just to make some extra cash to support his family. So I spent the next 45 minutes of the drive. I sat there and I listened to him as he shared his aspirations and about his kids. I gave him tips on how to grow his business and commended him for his commitment, his courage, and his efforts for working so hard to support his family, being responsible, and trying to, at the same time, trying to find a way to advance and do better. And then his demeanor completely changed after that. He became more engaged, friendly, and helpful. And why do you think that is?
Maybe
Yes,
he was
Ian.
embarrassed a little bit.
What was that,
Maybe
Ian?
He was embarrassed a little bit because of
Yeah,
everything that's going on and didn't know how he was going to react to certain things until you start opening up to him and talking to him.
yeah, yeah. Yes,
I think
Laura.
because you had compassion, and a lot of people don't show compassion in ways that they should,
Yes.
and that means a lot to people who are don't have things on their side.
Absolutely.
You showed yourself friendly.
Yeah, yeah. Yes. Sorry, go ahead first, up in front of the room. Yes.
No shame and no judgment.
No shame and judgment, yes.
You kind of let go of the fact of judging the book by its cover. You get over that and you just open up yourself to him despite all these and you have all this stuff in your mind
Yeah.
turning to the airport.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Yes, acceptance.
Yeah.
Amy, what's
You
last
already
thing?
said no judgment on your part.
Yeah.
Being able to converse with him as a friend.
Right,
And looking at, how his life is.
yeah,
Understanding where he's coming from.
yes.
Relatability.
Relatability, yes. And and all of that is true because he felt seen and heard, right? And was treated like a human, right? And I'm willing to bet that that was probably the first time in a very long time, if not ever, that someone treated him with such compassion, kindness, grace, and dignity, despite him not showing up his best that morning,
Yeah.
right? And what his current circumstances and appearance might have been, right? And yes, right. But isn't that how we all deserve to be treated? Absolutely, right? But in order for us to do that and treat each other like that, we have to be able to distinguish between the voice of self-doubt and the voice of self-love. Okay? Because the voice of self-love is going to drown our voice of self-doubt when we are able to change the way that we see and feel about ourselves. And the one person that could help us do that is someone that we once knew, have loved, but have long forgotten. Truth be told, I wasn't always that compassionate and humble. I was a very insecure overachiever with lots to prove in the world, mostly to my family, who, by the way, their biggest aspiration for me was for me to marry well so that my husband could take care of me and I didn't have to worry about anything. But being the black sheep that I am, and much to my parents' disappointment, in 2012, I got laid off, was about $300,000 in debt, and literally a signature away from divorce. I kid you not. But it took me getting to there for me to remember a little girl I once knew who was raised in a broken family with no role models or mother figure to love, care, and guide for her. She had no friends, was poor, spoke broken English because we immigrated to the US, and she had a little scar on the side of her neck that the kids at school kept teasing her about. And then in 9th grade, she was left at school waiting in the car line until 9 o'clock at night because nobody in her family remembered to pick her up. And worse, nobody even noticed that she was missing. She cried herself to sleep most nights, wondering, if I never woke up again in the morning, would anybody care?
Take your time, sis.
But you know, when I was staring at the blank signature line of my divorce paper, it was this little girl that saved my life and helped me get me back on my feet again. And if you couldn't already tell, this little girl's name is Jacqueline Peterson, my younger self. Because she reminded me of a promise that I had made to myself when I was 9 years old. She didn't know much and have much, but at 9 years old, she knew enough to declare that when I grow up, I will do whatever it took to make my marriage work so that my children would never have to go through what I'm going through right now. And I completely forgot about that promise. And in that moment, she helped me see the truth of what was really going on. You see, there was really no deal breakers in my life or my marriage. There were only deal breakers within me that I had to start honoring in order to move forward. Right? And all of my self-doubt and insecurities was all because I've been abandoning and ignoring myself. Right? And it wasn't until I embraced this little girl who needed love and healing and honoring that I was able to break my self-doubt cycle, turn my life around, and become who I am today, living debt-free, achieving financial freedom, standing up here talking to you all, and turned my near divorce into a happy, strong, loving marriage of 19 years and counting. Thank you. Because you know what I've learned is that without fail, life will reflect back to you what you see in yourself. Okay? And so the key to breaking the self-doubt cycle and becoming unstoppable every day, and it's actually even the foundation and even a prerequisite to purpose or mindset. And it's restoring love within yourself by loving and honoring all of who you are, the good, the bad, and especially the ugly. So the best way to start is to do 3 simple things for your younger self. Because when you connect with and honor your younger self, you achieve this wholeness within you that ignites compassion, confidence, and clarity. Right? And you start bridging the gap between who you're being and who you want to become. Right? And so the first is connect. Now, Rochelle Marie did a beautiful job earlier asking us to remember that happy place. So I just want us to just take a look, just close your eyes and reconnect back to that younger version of you, right? But this time, I want you to see in your mind, right? Be able to see in your mind and in your mirror and in your heart that little girl or boy looking at you with so much love and so much wonder. No judgment, okay? And I want you, from now on, from time to time, to reconnect with that beautiful child. Especially when you look in the mirror, see yourself looking back at you, okay? The second is to honor, right? What big promise, just write this down and start to think about it. What big promise did you make to yourself as a younger child when you were experiencing difficulty, especially in the pain? What did it birth in you, a desire, this burning desire that you haven't been honoring? And start to think about that, to honor yourself. Okay? And the third thing is to love. What's that one thing that you've always wished you had as a child but never got, that would have meant so much to you? And you go and you get that for yourself now. To show that even though there may be nobody around you to love and care and treat you, you know how to love and care and honor and treat yourself. Right? For me, it was a Cabbage Patch doll. Who remembers Cabbage Patch dolls, right? I would have killed to get one of these younger, but we were too damn poor to even think about getting this. So a few years ago, I went out and I got myself a Cabbage Patch doll that resembled as much as me as I could find, right? And her name is Lillian. And every time that I see her, I'm reminded of how much I love myself and how much I honor myself. And I hope that you can do the same for you too, right? Because your younger self ultimately reminds you of something so, so important. That you matter and are worth fighting for. Okay? And each one of us is a version of us up here. There's a version of us, right? Look at these beautiful, adorable faces. We all have one of those versions in us. Okay? So, and it also helps to remind us that we're now not working hard to gain other people's approval of us. Instead, we are working hard to love the person we are becoming each day. And when we are able to do this, we can also show compassion for others, right? Even when life surprises lands you in a snot-stained Uber drive unexpectedly, right? But more importantly, it can help us remind one another and the Joshuas of the world that you, all of you matter. And that I believe in you. even if you're not yet able to do it for yourself right now. And that's what being unstoppable is all about. Okay? Because it's great to be unstoppable, but it's exceptional to be unstoppable together. And so, what do you say? We all be unstoppable together and lift all of us and each other up. Right. So thank you very much. Here's my contact information. And if there's anything that I can do for any one of you, please feel free to reach out. If I can uplift you, support you, and help you, and share with you any little tidbits of my journey, of what I've learned up to this far that could possibly help you, please don't ever hesitate to reach out, because we are all in this together. So thank you.